Welcome to Girl Dad, the podcast. I'm your host, Madeline Anderson, and I'm thrilled to bring you honest conversations with dads and daughters, sharing heartfelt stories, actionable advice, and real daughter perspectives that will help you be the best girl dad you can be. Wes Greenwood, welcome to Girl Dad, the podcast.
Thanks, Madeline. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. Look at you in Costa Rica. I'm loving the background and excited to have you on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this is exciting. I was excited to come on here after meeting you at the Mindshare event and thinking of my time being a dad the last 6 years to 3 daughters. I feel like what you're doing on this podcast probably would have been good information for me to hear years ago as I've been stumbling through fatherhood here. So thanks for doing what you're doing.
Of course. I'm so excited to have you on. You're just like my dad, girl dad of 3 girls, so girl dad through and through. But yeah, would love to just kick it off by you introducing yourself to the audience, telling us a little bit about what you do, where you're from, and a bit about your family.
Okay, so I'm Wes Greenwood, originally from Canada, a few hours outside of Toronto, Ontario. Grew up in a really small farming town. My wife and I spent probably about 10 to 15 years-ish. I had some time off for vacations and took sabbaticals working on a fire service outside of Canada, and spent a lot of time in the real estate world, renovating homes and all that with my wife before we had children. And, my wife and I mentioned some vacations. We ended up taking a sabbatical together in 2018, and we traveled, and we ended up conceiving our first child at that time. Both of us didn't really have intentions of having children at that moment in time. It wasn't off the table, but it happened. And we were just kind of thrown into the fire that way. So, we were living in a small beach town in Ontario, Canada at the time. COVID was happening as well. So there was a lot going on, a lot of change in my life. And that's kind of taken me, I'll circle back to this, but that's taken me back to this present moment. I ended up during COVID developing a wellness business where I was working with individuals while still working in the fire service, guiding people through experiences using their breath as a tool. People call this breathwork. I was using it as a tool for the exploration of one's consciousness. And I was also using sauna and cold immersion as tools as I was, working with people to develop nervous system regulation and help detox their bodies. So this was growing on the side. And, my good friend, Mike, who you've met, Mike's the founder of a company called Jasper. Mike it invited me last year to come join him within his business, doing these things I was doing in this wellness business. So I ended up leaving the fire service I was working in. Someone took over our business back in Canada, and my wife, myself, and our 2 daughters at the time, and she was pregnant with our third, ended up moving to Austin, Texas about a year ago. So I find myself now in Austin, Texas, working with my friend Mike in this business, Jasper, and my role, I guess, there officially is Director of Breathwork and Air Quality Education. So, I've been kind of blending some of the things we're doing in Jasper as far as an air education business, helping people become more aware of the things that are in our air that we may not see, necessarily maybe even smell or feel in the moment, that may be impacting our health. And then I've also been welcoming people in, shows we go to, local customers, into experiences using breathwork as a tool to explore themselves. So that's a little bit about what I'm doing. As I mentioned, just to be clear, I'm father of 3 daughters, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 8-month-old, and also 1 dog that's a girl as well. It was, I think, my first child, Missy. So she's 12 years old now. So yeah. It's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
I love it. And when I met you in person and we started talking about your daughters, I could just see the way you were lighting up and just so proud and so excited to talk about them, which is why I was so excited to have you on. And I mentioned this to you earlier, but I think it's so fun to bring on dads who can share their experience as a girl dad, but also give some value to the audience on a subject that could help them with their journey of fatherhood or just being a great dad to their daughter in general. Yeah. And I think your background with breathwork and clean air is so valuable and something that we haven't really chatted about before, but it's extremely important, especially when it comes to emotional regulation. I think there's so many girls out there so many daughters who are dysregulated or anxious or have situations that they're in where breath work or maybe even clean air could be a great solution for fathers to kind of offer. So,
Yeah.
would love to chat about that a little bit and how just hear from you on how clean air and proper breathing or breathwork techniques can actually enhance or affect a child's mood and regulation.
Amazing. I think you mentioned something at the piece that kind of pinged something inside of me as far as, a lot of girls maybe being dysregulated. Um, that's a learned behavior, from people they're frequently interacting with. We have mirror neurons in us and we frequently mirror the environment, right? I mean, so much of what I see,
Hmm.
I've worked with lots of parents. Nervous system dysregulation is just kind of the soup du jour of our society. Everyone's over caffeinated, overworked, like they don't have the tools, they don't know them, it's really no fault of most people's anyways. Um, I think the single biggest thing that's impacted my fatherhood journey was like, being introduced to these tools and really using them deeply. I mentioned breath work at the start. That's just one of many tools, but it was just a very reliable tool I could use on my own to deepen my ability to regulate myself and become more aware of the things that were causing dysregulation. And for me, I mentioned working in the fire service a lot of the time. I'm a very type A guy. I've had decades of like, very intense sort of work. I'm the guy that's running into a fire when people are running out. For me, I was very much wired to respond to things, to fix things, to make things better. And thank God I became aware of that clearly in me at the time of having my first daughter. I was doing a lot of my own inner work when my first daughter arrived. So it was kind of like this, like I mentioned, thrown into the fire. Um, you know, uh, that type of patterning, especially with females, and I've got 3 daughters and a wife, like is so not helpful. And I didn't know this like at all until like I got introduced to these ideas of like, the differences of the masculine and feminine and,
Yes.
what's required something that came up for me as you were sharing that too is like I've heard this idea, the feminine desires containment in a way, like a presence to
Mm.
ground into, not control, but something to relax into. Um, I don't think I could have provided that like 7 or 8 years ago. Um, before doing a lot of this work and understanding my patterning and bringing in tools to be able to, I think, deal with myself so I can simply just be a presence for my daughters,
Mhm.
and how did breath work allow me to do that? Um, it wasn't just doing box breathing. It wasn't just sitting there doing box breathing and like, wishing things would get better, like kind of calming things in the moment. It was using this active conscious breathing as a tool to really get to know what was going on inside of me, how I was raised, what was I given as far as like conditioning and seeing how that was interacting within my world, especially now being a father. Because I imagine
Mhm.
anyone that comes on your podcast knows your children are like just uniquely programmed to trigger you and all of your stuff, you know? And I remember being at a show in 2017. Dr. Shafali was there, and she's really become like quite a presence online. She delivered a piece of information saying your children are going to be mirrors for all the areas in which you need to grow. And I remember hearing that, and this was 2 years before we had kids. I just like, it was one of those moments where I fell back in my seat. I was like, oh my God. Not only could I see that for myself with my parents, like just, it was like a flash of all these moments of my childhood with my parents' interaction. But I'm like, that's going to happen when I have kids. I can just feel that. And I've like, it was right around that time, 2016, 2017, like where my wife and I started doing some inner work that allowed, I think, me to arrive at this place where I'm at now. And I do not have it all figured out. Oh my God. Like every day with 3 daughters under 6, it's just a constant barrage of emotional, just emotionality.
I'm sure.
So that's why I'm really grateful. Again, breathwork was a tool for me to do a lot of my own inner exploration and with awareness of it, and a lot of support to begin to let go of some of the emotional triggers for me and some of the accumulation from the past. But, I mentioned box breathing isn't going to do the trick, but it's also a good tool. So now, like, I do use these breathing techniques, like in the moment where I'm like very active myself emotionally in the presence of my little children. So I can use these
Mhm.
things to not react, to simply be there. And this has just been such a gift, So I
Yeah.
think that's one thing I would advise people, whether um, you're planning to have children or you already have kids, it's not too late to begin doing your own inner work so you can become more aware of, what is inside of you. What have you, you know, learned from observation, accumulated, people talk about maybe karmic debts or ancestral stuff, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, you've got stuff inside of you. Find a way to begin to explore that in a way that doesn't involve your children taking
Hmm.
the brunt of it, and um, breathwork has probably been the most reliable way um, for me that I found
Hmm.
to do it. But there's many other paths. So um, yeah, so that's been a big piece. I think that I want to just invite people into that world as a
Yeah.
as a possibility.
I love it, and I think, you're sharing great examples as to how breath work has helped you become a better father, a more
Hmm.
present father,
Hmm.
and show up for your daughters the way that they need you to. But
Hmm.
there's also the other end of it where you're able to teach your daughters how to emotionally regulate, and it's something that's beautiful because it's free. You
Hmm.
can do it anytime,
Yeah.
and they can learn how to calm their emotions and reach homeostasis, especially in times of heightened emotions or, um, fear or sadness. My husband's really good about this. If I'm
Hmm.
like crying or having one of those moments where just everything feels like it's crashing down, he's like, "Okay, breathe," and then all of a sudden the crying stops and I feel
Yeah.
better instantly. And it's crazy how much of a difference it really does make. And this isn't something that my dad we've ever really talked about. Like he's
Hmm.
not a breathwork guy. I think everybody could value from it though, and I'm excited to bring this topic up because I'm sure there's dads out there who are open to this idea but just haven't really thought about it or
Yeah.
explored it.
I
So
love
yeah.
that. That's amazing. That's what a great example of, what your partner's able to do for you. And I mean,
Mhm.
really what he's doing for you is no different than what he could do for daughters as well. I mean,
Exactly.
you are a daughter,
Yeah.
everyone, every female that, no matter what age, you were a daughter at some point, and that's
Yep.
still within you, the same neurology and physiology.
Mhm.
Um, and I actually love what you shared there because I don't want to come across saying like everyone must do breath work, everyone must do this. My belief is truthfully, um, and I think this is very uncommon, that in a very well-arranged family and a setup where like all these things are tended to, and there's a lot of cultures that still, I think, get this right. It's just our culture's gone so far from this setup. Like, this is just a natural way of growing up, like being able to allow for emotions to come and go and for people to hold a space for that. Like, this is nothing like new. Like, indigenous cultures know how to do this still. This
Mhm.
is like, we've had this. It's just we've somehow forgotten. So I just want to also think like there's going to be people out there that have been raised in families where like maybe this was still in contact with the ability to allow for this stuff, to hold it, and the proper grounding of masculine and feminine. There might be some people that are gifted enough that just like they have that ability and they might not need the breath work. Um, this is just a tool that's helped me come back, I think, into this alignment after being so far removed from it. Um, but that's great. I love that example because like last night we were out at a beach playing, and we had dinner at this restaurant that was on the beach. And my daughter Zora, she's 4, so she had a bit of a fever 2 days ago, and she's just tired. And everyone knows when you're tired, even adults, everything's just harder. You're more emotional. Everything feels difficult. She's very much, but in a child, it's 10x, maybe more. So she was very much feeling it. And just something as simple as like her friend not sharing her toy with her while we were at dinner just set her off. And like in the middle of a restaurant, she's just like screaming, she's crying. There's like kind of like the ugly tears. And like in a moment like that, like for me, that's where I'm so grateful for these things. Cause like I'm non-reactive in a sense to her
Mm.
emotions. And I just hold her. And within
Mhm.
60 to 90 seconds, like without me reacting to her and pouring any more gas on that fire, she begins to calm. And then at 4 years old, if I keep holding her and I just start breathing myself, and I can remind her to breathe through my breath, even without even words. And sometimes I just have to tell her, hey, take some deep breaths with me. She begins to come back. And you kind of have every time that little signal that it's passed, it's like, like
Yes.
the physiological sigh that happens, and then we're dialoguing, like she's back here, and this is a 4-year old, she's
Right.
back with me talking about what happened and why it upset her, and then it's over, it's gone, and she's right back in and she's playing, and like, it's good. It's like, what an amazing thing.
Mm. Yeah, and I think men naturally have that calming presence. But like you said, there's layers of today's society where, you can be dysregulated and have your own heightened emotions that you need to kind of work through. But to be
Hmm.
that grounding presence for the women in your life, both your daughters and your wife, it's so important. And,
Hmm.
I think about that second or 7-second hug, right? Isn't that how long it takes for the oxytocin
Hmm.
or something to rise enough to where you feel this like genuine connection and calm? And it's so true. I told my dad about that, and then the next time I saw him or something, we hugged, and he's like 7 seconds, and so
Oh,
we like
wow.
kept hugging, and it was just like you really do get this extra value from it. And same thing with my husband. I mean, anytime he hugs me, I feel so safe and protected and loved and cared for and okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything is okay. And it really, I think it comes down to that biological, male calming presence that you guys have that is so beautiful. But
Hmm.
tapping into that and using that as a tool to be a great father is a really great idea. I love it.
Yeah, it's more than a great idea. It's like literally a biological necessity
Yes,
and
yes,
psychological, so I think
yes,
underscore that whole
yes.
thing there. Yeah, oh my gosh. One thing I was just thinking too, I booked this podcast like with you, like at this time, because I was
Hmm.
like, um, thinking about, like, I was debating whether to do it while we were on vacation here or not, and I was just kind of weighing the pros and cons. And I was like, oh, I'm like, I feel like this is going to be a good setting because like I'm very immersed into like a lot of time
Mm.
with my daughters, and there's going to be some things that come up. Um, and I'm glad I did because just even thinking about this, this is a good for me. I'm like every day is just learning with my daughters, and it's like I fail and then I learn and then I try and do better the next time, and then like things start sticking, and that's really all this is. It seems to be for me is a lot of learning every day, and just thinking about that thing I shared about last night versus this morning. Well, this is the only thing I've really had on my calendar the last 8 days, and it was funny noticing we went to a market this morning, um, and then we went to this cafe after, and there's a pool at this cafe, but I'm like, okay, I got to get out of here, and I'm already noticing my mind is like an hour ahead
Mm.
of like, okay, I've got to get back here, shower, set up, all that. Um, and just watching how even that like was affecting my ability to be there with my kids.
Mm.
And becoming more aware of that for me, like how to shift out of those moments, like to be in the present with them. That was actually like a really cool experiment for me. Just preparing for this because I've got there's not as much on my plate right here at all. Like there's really nothing other than just like going to the beach. So that was actually a really powerful moment for me to reflect on right now because I was seeing like they wanted me to jump in the pool one more time and like like they really wanted
Mhm.
to show me the like what they were doing, and I just wasn't there. And I'm like, thank God there wasn't some big emotional thing at the moment. Like, so I'm just thinking that how hard it is when one's busy thinking about things that are going on, whether it's work, you know, other commitments, and then like what's really demanded, especially when things get very, very heightened emotionally, like it's just such a deep level of presence.
Mhm. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about work
Hmm.
and balancing time with your family and also being present with your daughters and your
Yeah.
wife.
Hmm.
So first of all, I'm sorry that I caused any sort of pull away from the family, but I'm
No, you
glad
didn't
that
cause
you
it.
well,
I
I'm
chose
glad
this.
you
I chose
r
this.
right. Well, I'm glad you,
Yeah.
like, switched that, and made it
Yeah.
more of a awareness rather
Yeah.
than, this obligation and something that's taking away from your family because I want nothing more than you to be present
No,
and
this is
enjoying your
helping in every
vacation.
way. The fact I get to reflect on that is like such a
Exactly.
gift. Everything could take away.
Yeah.
I use that as one example of it. But like, geez, I mean, I looked around at the cafe and how many people were just on their phones.
Oh.
Like, so, like just that simple fact, just being preoccupied with anything. That's why I
Mhm.
use that word, like like the quality of presence required to really tend to, especially a young child, like when they're very emotional,
Yeah.
like the quality of presence required, I think, like for that to come to regulation is just like, it's so much. That's why I was
Mhm.
saying, I was like, oh man, I'm like, thank God something didn't happen at that moment, like really there. Cause like, I don't know if I would have shown up exactly how I would have wanted to being under a time crunch, and
Yeah.
I think that's why it's nice that I booked this while I was here because there was nothing else on my plate. If I did this back in Austin, like Monday to Friday, I'm working,
Right.
during the
It's just
day,
part of your
I'm bouncing
flow.
from things during the day. It's like, this is cool. The kids are at school,
Mm,
like all that. Right. So, that was great. It
yeah.
was a great
Yeah, no,
moment.
it's I'm glad it was,
Yeah.
and I think that it was a great moment because you made it that way, and
Hmm.
that's what I wanna really highlight here is it's so easy to be distracted in today's
Hmm.
world. Like, for fathers, you guys work so hard, there's so many obligations, there's so many distractors, whether it's phone, work, anything,
Hmm.
right? And it takes you as a dad to recognize when it's time to be present, when it's time to draw lines and be with your family or take a second to do, to do a podcast and come back to your family, but
Hmm.
enjoy every moment before and after
Hmm.
with the family. So I think you're a great example of somebody who does take time away with the family. You guys are on vacation. That
Hmm.
sounds like a wonderful trip. Um, how do you focus on balancing time at work and time with your girls? And how do you show up your best when it's time to be present and spend time with them?
Yeah. Mm. It's funny. I want to say it's a challenging question for me, but, um, the word balance is like, it is challenging. It's like, what is the time frame we're looking at as far as like when we're measuring, because I mean, if we take a snippet of a small period of time, it might look perfect, but over, 10x that time, it could be just chaos. Um, and focusing at the right moment could be balance. I'm just going to reflect on, I think the last year for me has been a lot of change. So this is going to be an interesting thing just to kind of dissect. Um, I mentioned we moved to Austin about a year ago. My wife was pregnant with our third daughter. Um, Having two young children, moving to a new country. I mean, I think that's why I feel like I'm not doing a great job at it right now. But like, I mean, here we are in Costa Rica. We've been spending like so much time together
Mm.
over the last like, couple weeks. The kids were off school for Christmas break. So like, that was before we even came here. So essentially they've been out of school for a month. We had lots of time together over the holidays. It's like, so I feel like what I'm getting at here is like, I feel like we were so imbalanced when we moved here in March, April, May. New baby was born, and anyone that has multiple children will know. I mean, like, balancing many, many children at once that have needs and desires too, and trying to give them the time that they need for connection with a new baby, especially depending on the type of support you have available, which, us moving to a new country, we have resources, but family wasn't here. We have some great friends here that were helpful too, but it felt challenging,
Mm.
so I would say, felt very imbalanced earlier this year. How did I try and balance that? Well, when I noticed it, when my daughters expressed the desire to like do something, my 6-year-old, Lana, like she loves like the idea of going on dates now. Like, I think she knows what they are. There's a special time. I know my 4-year-old requests them, but I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like she gets it. Like this
Mhm.
morning, when I was in bed, Lana came in and she was like, "Dad, let's go on a date today." Like, so it's like, okay, clearly there's this desire there. Like, she's expressing it verbally to me. Like, I know it's there anyways, but it's like one of those things that's like, it's easy to just like push off, like without me proactively like nurturing it. But like, I know they're going to ask when they need it. I think that's
Mhm.
been something that's been cool. Feel like I've done a good job with getting my daughters to be comfortable, like expressing what they need. Um,
That's an amazing skill.
yeah, like I know my wife struggles with that, um,
Mhm.
immensely. But, you know, showing my daughters, like, just by telling them, "Hey, like, you can ask for what you need," but then also delivering to them. So it's like, I think they get that, like, not only encouragement to do it, but the receiving of the thing they're
Right,
asking
they get the
for, it kind of
feedback.
reinforces the pattern.
Mhm.
Um, we're gonna go on that date today. It's amazing. And that kind of is something that I'm grateful that she had the ability to, because over the last, year, we've had a lot of one-on-one time together, which has been
Mm.
wonderful. Um, I'm in a position, I think, and this is something I'm grateful for. It took a lot of hard work and discipline, but financially, like, we're in a good position where I'm not working 80, 90 hours a week. There's a lot of probably entrepreneurs that'll come onto your podcast that are in the process of building a business or whatever. And they may be in that phase where, their time demands are just so immense. Like, I mean, this balance might be hard, and like,
Right.
um, do the best you can. I feel like we were kind of in that phase of moving to a new country last year where I had worked 80 to 90-hour weeks building businesses, but that was before we
Mhm.
had kids. I hadn't been in that phase since we had children, and that was like something, even though it wasn't planned at that time, that my wife and I had like nicely set up. Like, um, what else is coming up here for me? I feel like I've done balance over time rather
Mm.
than balance like daily, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
You know, I mentioned that sabbatical leave my wife and I are on, right? Well, she conceived her first daughter on that one. Well, the years before that, we were working many times during the year, like 6 to 7 months at a time of 80, 90 hour weeks, full-time job somewhere, working on this real estate business on the side. That shifted into a wellness business, which is funny that we were grinding while doing a wellness business.
Right.
Um, but when we had our first daughter, I ended up taking like 10 months off of everything. Like, I took time off work and like was just home with my wife and like helping with a lot of stuff there, which was really nice to have that time together. I also did that same thing with our second daughter. Um, and then the third daughter, this one, I've been again moving new country, working. So I'm kind of getting the experience of this balancing over time. Um, so I think all I'd say about that is like, just pay attention to what's being voiced, like, and maybe if they're not voicing it, like if you haven't instilled this in your daughters, this is okay. Like you probably didn't know that this is important. Like ask them, what,
Mhm.
what do you need? And then just like make the time to fulfill on it. And I feel like, um, little things like that can help. Right. Um,
Yeah.
but I will say this too. I mentioned Mike Jasper moving down here. I think what's been cool is him and I, we've been friends for 8 years. And one thing I'm grateful for is to have a friend, to work in business with a friend that also has aligned values. Like he's down here with his family right now. We're taking several weeks to be with our families. Like we have these points of time, like the whole month of August basically is like a month for family too. So it's just baked into this business. Like we know there's these big periods of time where we're going to like just immerse into the family. I feel like that's a way to do it too. That's kind of balance over time as well, right?
Absolutely.
So I try and fit in, like, especially uh, now that we're in a bit of a rhythm, these quality one-on-one times with my daughters, both Lana and Zora. Zora's the 4-year-old, taking them out, even if it's just like they get up in the morning and they like one of them, like I took Zora, this was 3 weeks ago. Like she just got up one morning. She's like, Dad, I want to go on a date with you too. We went to the cafe for like 40 minutes before school. And if I'm like there with her and I'm not on my phone and I'm actually just like paying attention to her. She loves me reading a storybook to her at the cafe, and like she gets a milk steamer and she sits on my lap and we just spend that time. Like that's high impact.
Right.
Like she
Yeah.
remembers that. Um, I don't think it's that complicated. And that to me, like that basically balances the whole week for her.
Mhm.
So, that was kind of me just like riffing about some stuff. It's not something I really, but I think probably I'd love to hear kind of your summary of what I just said in a way. But I
Yeah.
think because as I feel, um, what I was saying, my experience is life is not balanced, day to day. It's balanced over time. How does that happen? You become aware that things are imbalanced and maybe certain things are not being nurtured, certain things are being over nurtured, and then, tend to it. So, um, uh, yeah. And I I feel like that's been happening,
Yeah.
which is
No,
cool to
I
reflect on.
yeah, I love this question because I think it's something that most dads struggle with. And I think there's this unrealistic expectation of what work-life balance is. I think
Hmm.
people picture like a teeter-totter and it's like you have to spend the same amount of time with work and your family and you always
Yeah.
feel out of balance because it's just you're stressed out and it just doesn't feel right. And
Hmm.
I want to give dads grace because I don't think that that's really accurate. And I think work life balance doesn't have to look like that. It doesn't even, the word balance doesn't have to be triggering because it doesn't need to be this perfect equation.
Hmm.
I think the other thing that helps with work life balance is exactly what you said, and that's
Hmm.
zooming out because you might feel like in one day, you were working so much, you barely got time with your family, but you were present while you were with them, but then you were thinking, okay, is that enough? But if you zoom out and you look at the calendar as a whole, and maybe you look at the week or you look at the
Hmm.
month, like where's the how much time are you spending with your family, or how present are you when you are spending time with your family? That's the most
Yeah.
important question to ask.
That's a
And
challenging one.
then
That's a big one.
yes.
Like for me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
How
hard.
present are you when
It's
you're with them?
hard.
Yeah.
But
Especially now in the day of distraction.
that's yes, exactly, and that's what matters because at the end of the day, your daughters just wanna be with you and they want to be wanted by you, and
Mhm.
so I love to tell dads, and this is something that I'm so grateful for my dad doing with us girls is, talk about work. Like, tell your daughters what you're doing. They wanna know what your world is all about. They wanna be part of your world. So, even if you invite them to if you're doing something work related and you invite them to listen in on a call or, you know, talk to them about how your day went,
Mhm.
they love it. And
Mm.
there's even studies like, with moms who are cleaning or cooking and the kid wants to be part of it and they'll be like, "Oh, go play."
Yeah.
Get out of the kitchen, or I'm just folding laundry. Go ahead and go to your room and go play. They want to fold laundry. Like
Mhm.
they look at you and they want to be part of your world. And I think when it comes to work-life balance, there's ways that you can be working and just even talking about work. And now this thing that you're doing, even if you're on a meeting and you're spending time away or you have to go somewhere for work, your daughters understand what it is that you do. And so they don't feel like it's this thing that is pulling you away from them. They feel
Mm.
like they're a part of it and they know what you're up to. Like, I
Mhm.
remember getting so excited even when my dad was on a work trip because I knew where he was going. I knew what he was doing. I knew the presentation he was giving because he showed me the slides. And it
Mm.
didn't make me feel like he was choosing work over me, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
That
And
makes
I
perfect
think,
sense.
yeah, and I think like, we talked a little bit about masculine and feminine and men versus women's brains. We operate so differently. And one thing that women do is we are very emotionally driven, but we also story tell a lot. So sometimes dads can be working really hard and they mean nothing but working hard to provide for the family. But what we hear and what we feel is that's more important than us.
Mhm.
And I think that narrative can be shattered. You can have that connection with your daughter. You can ensure that work does not affect your relationship by simply just including her in your world and talking about work and helping her understand what you do.
Mm.
So I think, yeah, work life balance is a very hard word or phrase. And I think so many people struggle with it. But I
Yeah.
like to have these conversations because I think, you can kind of just unpack all of it and realize, hey, everything's okay. Like I am doing my best. I am at balance as a whole. Every day might look different. Some days I might wish I spent more time with my daughter, but it really comes down to making sure she feels like she understands you and she's part of your world. And that when you are with her, if you can try to be as present as possible, I think that really makes the most difference.
Yeah. Yeah, the presence piece I think really is everything. I think of um even just simply going to the cafe. I've noticed I've gone to the cafe with my daughters a lot. Like it's just down the road. It just seems to be like they love it. They always request to go there for like a date, and it's super convenient. Um, if I go with them and I have my phone with me and I check it once, like compared to like not opening the phone period, or sometimes I just leave it at home. What a difference.
Mm. Hmm.
Um, and especially as it seems like almost everyone is doing work now, like on their phone. I mean, it'd be shocking if someone wasn't. So like to tap into that different world, your work life versus like, this world of having your daughters and, these beings that are demanding your presence and attention and how quickly that can contaminate the presence. I mean, for me, it's undeniable. This is very good for me to reflect on that because I think it's like something I know, but like saying it out loud is kind of like, whoa. I could really do something about that. Like, there's nothing that important for me
Right.
that it can't wait 30 to 40 minutes, but I frequently let it contaminate the thing. And there was something as you were talking to that kind of came up for me. I think about that presence, but also about like kind of them wanting like the daughters, maybe children in general, but just wanting to be included in the world, and a child's like unbridled curiosity and like the quality of presence they're bringing. Um, it's kind of coming back. I mean, I'm still in the process of doing a lot of my own inner work. I'm like, I have a lot of guilt about like having to work a lot still and not being able to give like as much attention as maybe it seems like they're calling for. And what you shared about including them into it, frequently that kind of interferes with this, like the feelings that come up in me, and they're wanting to be included into my world, and me not being able to deal with that in the moment kind of pushes them away. I'm just seeing this right now a little bit more
Hmm.
clearly, like kind of pushes them away. So like they don't get included. My guilt keeps perpetuating, and like the cycle continues. Whoa. Um, yeah, wow.
Hmm. Yeah, and I do not want you to feel guilty. I think
Oh no, you don't
you're
have to say that. How does it?
no, no, no.
Yeah,
I'm saying
yeah,
there's other dads out there. I'm sure every dad listening is feeling what you're feeling. And what
yeah.
I'm saying, like in my position as a daughter who studies this and does this, like I don't want any father to feel guilty for working hard because that's that is a beautiful thing. And I think the more that you can express how working is for out of love because
Hmm.
you love what you do, first of all, like daughters want dads to be working in a position that they love. Like we
Hmm.
love hearing that dad loves his job.
Hmm.
That's a great thing. That's positive. But also we love hearing that he's doing it for the family and for us. And the more that you can, I guess, prepare and educate your daughters around why work is positive for the family, for each other, and help them understand what you do and nerd out with them, like talk about clean air, like, get them excited about what you're doing. And then when you spend more time on it, it's not a negative thing. Like I said, it's an inspiration. Like my dad he still works until 2 a.m. sometimes.
Yeah.
He has a terrible work-life balance and he knows it. And we tell him all the time, but we still feel extremely close with him because he's always talking about his projects. He's excited about what he wants to do or what he's doing. And I look at him as an inspiration, not as somebody who I wish spent more time with me.
Yeah.
And and there wasn't, like, a ton of time. He always showed up at, the soccer games, and he
Hmm.
would be there when I came in on my golf matches at the end, but he worked a lot,
Hmm.
and but sometimes he brought us to work on the weekends if he had to work, he would take
Hmm.
us to the office, and he was always showing us what he was doing, he was always highlighting how fun it was for him, and all of us love how much he works. Like, it's fun, to see him thriving in his role and his passion. So,
That's amazing.
yeah,
Wow. Hmm.
I think it's an important thing because also, like, I think they feel your guilt, you know? I
Yeah.
think you need to release that guilt for you, first and foremost, so that you can just be happy and be your best self and be your best father and husband. But also your daughters see it and they don't want that. They want you to be happy, they want you to be thriving. Um, and they don't mind if you work a lot. It just depends on how you kind of framework to your daughter.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can see. I think maybe that'll be it too. Thinking of many other girl dads. And I grew up in like I mentioned like a small town, so like a very rural farming community. Let's just say I'm at a point where like the concept of someone enjoying or loving their work was not really something I was like experienced or exposed to. And I think at the deepest parts of my nervous system, in my experience, the story of like work can't be fun is still rooted in there. And I've been noticing that even the last year, shifting into working with my friend Mike, who I'd say is like having just such a joy and a joyful experience and a blast and a ton of fun with what he's doing in work. Um, I'm having to like learn how to be in relationship to work that way.
Mm.
So, yeah, thank you for kind of spelling that out a little more clear, especially from maybe the daughter's perspective.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's something too that, well, I mean, my oldest is 6 years old. I mean, like this is kind of
Yeah.
very, very deeper level insightful thing. It's very clear to me she wants me to be happy and have fun.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, of course. Of
Yeah,
course. I do wanna shift gears back to clean air and
yeah,
breath work and kind of, I guess, what you do for work. And,
yeah,
we talk a lot about protecting children from the
Hmm.
dangers of the world, or parents talk about that, I should say. But I think there's a lot of, toxins, and I don't like to speak super negatively and do any like scare
Yeah.
tactics or anything, but there's toxins in the home, right?
Hmm.
And in our air.
Hmm.
And I think it would be really powerful for you to just kind of give some perspective or advice for dads on how they can make their home a safer environment for their family.
Yeah. This is a good one. I think this is too, dads, if you're looking for something to fix, this is a very easy thing, I suppose, um, and high impact. Um, when you sent that question over, I was just kind of reflecting on it and, thinking about, particularly again, girl dad podcast, young female bodies. Um, if you don't know this, it's no surprise. I mean, you don't have to search very far on Google to find out all of the pollutants that are in our indoor air. Outdoors as well, but the outdoor air is still generally, pretty good. I mean, if you're living downtown LA, maybe not, but not too far out of the city, save, it being forest fire season. Um, Air quality, North America, outdoors, generally pretty good. Um, it's the indoor air environments. So, homes starting the 70s started getting built tighter and tighter and tighter as far as like an air standpoint is concerned. So they're not leaky anymore, which is energy efficient for heating and cooling and your energy bill. Also, what happened at that time was a lot of materials went from more natural substances, kind of like the woods, the plasters, into a lot of more of synthetics, the plastics, the polymers, all these things. And the combination of that just led to this indoor air environment, which is pretty poor. And also, more and more people are spending more and more time inside, up to like 95 to 98% of their time is spent indoors now, going from the home into the car, into the office, into the wherever you work, a lot of time spent indoors. Um, for females, particularly, this is an impact for men as well, but I mean, very sensitive hormone systems as far as, especially like getting into like the menstrual cycle and all that. And there's so many endocrine disrupting chemicals, coming from phthalates, microplastics, even the cooking of certain foods, Teflon pans, all that. The lack of ventilation in homes now and indoor air filtration, coupled with the tightness of the home and all of this stuff has just like led to a bit of a disaster for indoor air quality. There's many other things that are impacting this, but this is a quick one to fix. Our product Jasper is one of many on the market, but we feel it's the best at catching airborne air particulate, which means, it's like the laziest way. You get something like this, you set it up, plug it in, it's gonna be capturing most of the indoor air particulate. If you really want to dive in, just go back to like, natural products, natural fibers. One of the things I was thinking about, this drives me crazy having grandparents that aren't into this kind of stuff. The stuff they buy our children, like, the little
Mm,
snuggies, like the fuzzy doll that's, just, it's literally filled with polyester foam and polyester fibers on the outside. Like, God, like they're just sleeping with it, like breathing it in. Um, so like as you become more aware of this stuff, I think the thing is like, don't totally freak out. Our bodies are incredible at healing and detoxifying. It's like, become aware of it. The laziest thing you could do is get an indoor air purification system, whether it's Jasper, a central mounted one, or, if you wanted to choose another one on the market, just filter your indoor air. It's very simple. If you put it in their bedroom and you can actually, that'd be the place to start. If you could begin to filter your daughter's indoor air in her bedroom and remove all the things in that bedroom that might be, synthetic in nature, that has the possibility of having these hormone disrupting chemicals in it. Wow. And that wouldn't be really that expensive. And that'll literally have
mm,
an impact on her entire life. You know,
mm,
women are getting their menstrual cycle earlier and earlier, it seems. Um, and this is something is becoming more aware, I think, publicly, or at least I hope. I don't know sometimes if I'm in like a bit of a silo with what we're doing. It seems like the people we're coming into contact with know about this, but I feel like it's getting more and more, especially with the Maha movement right now. All this stuff's very sort of, up for public consumption now.
right.
Um, but it's likely that your young daughter is, in school at some, especially once they get to like, the age of 5 or so, which means that most of her time in the home is going to be spent in the bedroom. Clean the bedroom up. Massive impact on her life.
Right.
Um, so that's something like, as far as the air quality piece is concerned. Um, just really kind of inventory in your home, like things that might be contributing to indoor air particulate that might be affecting this very sensitive hormonal system of a young female. It's going to impact her life so much. And um, as far as the breathing, it depends on how old your children are. So, I've got 3 daughters under 6. Incorporating breath work with them in a playful way has been like very high impact. So like one of the things I enjoy the most, so if you um basically if you think of your breath as an inhale and an exhale, when you breathe in, it's sympathetic, activating. When you breathe out, parasympathetic, deactivating, rest and digest. And if you can extend the exhale longer than the inhale, you can really begin to focus on parasympathetic activation, which means you're shift into a rest state. Now, it might take some time. It's not instant. But one of the things I like to do with my daughters is then like I'll breathe in with them, and I'll try and breathe into like the count of 3 and maybe out for 6 or in for 4 and out for 8. But as I breathe in, I'll play a game where I poke their belly button like a balloon, and I'll get them to go like the whole way, and just get them to like shake their body and then breathe in again and do that. And I find after 3 breaths, like it almost doesn't matter what it is. They're smiling again. The wave has passed. The skies are clear. And I found that to be like a really high impact thing. Like, like especially if you have a balloon when you do it and you kind of like watch the balloon kind of go around the room, they kind of link it to it. And it's very invitational for them to like, begin to breathe. My 6-year-old, she's at the point now where she has enough focus and attention where she'll sit for a few minutes and like actually do some breathing with me if I invite her into it. And that's pretty high impact. Like several minutes of just like slow, deep breathing can make such an impact on the system. Just a couple breaths is very impactful. So those are like 2 simple tips, but I would say like, for anyone that's listening to this that feels like they want to incorporate breathing too, like for a dad, to take 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, kind of like a meditation in motion, just breathing slowly and deeply, even to a song you like. It's just, I think it's really going to set the tone for your day. I mean, I did some this morning, and I didn't do any yesterday because I slept in a bit and got up, went right to the beach. I just notice whenever I do it first thing in the morning, it just resources me and grounds me for the day, which means I can show up better for them too. So yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you definitely have a calming energy about you, and I'm sure breath work plays a significant role in that. Something that I really
Mm-hmm.
want to get more into as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think, yeah, Jasper is amazing. I have one and I noticed instantly allergies went down and I was dreaming way deeper. I mean, I always have like kind of crazy dreams,
Mm-hmm.
not like wild, just
Mm-hmm.
vivid
Yeah, vivid,
or
lucid type dreams.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
interesting. And they just got even more vivid and interesting.
Wow.
And so yeah, that's just one thing that I've been noticing recently. So thank you for that. Thank you for giving me clean air and my
Thank you for
husband.
receiving it.
Yeah, so big fan. And for any dad listening, highly recommend Jasper. It's very legit and extremely helpful for all kinds of different health elements. But yeah, the hormones are a big one for girls. So
Yeah, well, I
protecting
think
your
one of the things
daughter.
too, I will say, as far as Jasper is concerned, one of the things, so Mike's the founder, and one of the things he really noticed, this was even before I was really on the air quality sort of side of things. He's got 3 children too. They're the same age as mine. So, 3 under 6. But when his daughters were into daycare, they kept getting respiratory infections.
Mm,
And he was like, man, what the hell? This is like not even worth it. Like we're sending our kids this thing. They're sick like every 2, 3, 4 weeks. Like they can't go in when they're sick. What's going on? And he was aware of indoor air quality being an issue, right? And he ended up putting Jaspers in their like classrooms, and it made a big difference. And there's a lot of evidence that shows like, indoor air quality contributing to not only,
mm,
bacteria and viruses passing, but also just the other things that are in the air, how much of an impact that has. But this is a case from like schools across America and even children's bedrooms. Like, if you have a child that's dealing with chronic respiratory issues, stuffy noses, runny noses, it may be something to like consider as far as asking your school whether they do anything about indoor air quality, the facility you have them at, and there's something that could be done about it. We've had lots of
yeah.
parents buy Jaspers and just put them in their children's daycare. And especially getting them in their bedroom, it just makes such an impact, not only on the child's quality of life, but also like the parents. Like, you don't have sick kids. What's better than that? Um,
Right.
so that's one of the things that was like abundantly clear, was like poor indoor air quality in schools, creating sick kids. And I think we shared this with you too, maybe when we're at Mindshare, about Jasper purchasing a school. Um,
Oh, I no,
so
I
like,
don't.
yeah, so like through Jasper, Mike's bought a school in our neighborhood that we live in, our daughter's gonna be
Oh,
going to.
okay.
So we're gonna be like creating this very like kind of a model for what a school environment should be, as far as a healthy indoor environment,
Yes.
paying attention to the lighting, like instead of having LEDs flickering, or, fluorescent bulbs, like working with what's known as a circadian rhythm lighting that kind of follows what the lights from the sun is output during the day, because like the
Mhm.
sun's trajectory changes the basically the light that's coming from it. It's like reddy and orangey in the mornings and at sunsets, and during the day there's more blue lights and kind of the whiter spectrums. Um, Good quality lighting, filtered air, mindfulness around the products that are inside, as far as, the construction products, but also the cleaning products,
Mhm.
filtered water, organic food, and like just, giving the kids the right soil, I think, from an environment standpoint. And then, we're really excited about it. So,
Yeah.
um, it's going to be called Kindling Academy, I believe. And yeah, just kind of watch out for that. We'll be sharing stuff through the Jasper, like Instagram page or our mailing list, but that's something that's exciting too,
So
we're really
exciting.
excited about from that business. But
Oh,
I think that's just an invitation to, like, inquire about the environment that your children are spending their time in.
yeah.
Um, I'm not sure a lot of parents are thinking about that. Like, what is the quality of the indoor air, or just the environment in general of the school that my children are going to?
Yeah.
Um, so,
You're right. It's so overlooked. It's, invisible in some ways, right? It's not
mhm,
a physical, you don't see it,
mhm,
but you feel it for sure,
mhm,
and the impact is immense. So
mhm.
it needs more attention. Air needs better PR.
Very much so. We're
um
working on it.
Yeah,
Mm,
you guys are doing a great job. So thank
mm.
you again for what you're doing, and
Thank
I
you.
want to get you back to your family and enjoying Costa Rica,
Yeah,
but
I just
to
saw
close
they
out.
walked in actually. They're kind of
Oh,
just chilling. They came in the back door. They're just kind of relaxing on the couch right now. So I will get back
oh.
to them.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Wes. I so appreciate all of this, and you provided such immense value to the conversation. And I'm really excited to watch your path grow and see the school develop and
Mhm.
everything else you're working on. So thank you.
Thanks, Madeline. And thank you for this call. This has been very helpful for me. It's just a
Oh,
moment to
good.
reflect. The invitation to let go of some of the guilt I'm still holding. Thank you. I'm going to reflect on this. And
Of
yeah,
course.
I hope this just helps, one dad out there, and impacts, a daughter's life, and maybe many more. So
Oh,
I'm excited to get to know you more as well as things unfold, and I'm glad we met.
me too. Thank you, Wes.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Girl Dad, the podcast. If you found today's conversation helpful, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow Girl Dad. I read every review and truly take your words to heart. To close out, remember, your intentional moments make lasting legacies. See you next week.